What up, my devil? Sensei Tutum here with another video for you. That's right, another Bitcoin Friday video for you. So I know I promised last week it would not be more than a one-time aberration that you had to be without the great trade devil. But go figure, you start digging around in the spinal cord area with a scalpel and yeah, that hurts, I guess. So you got to put up with me for one more week. But he is on the mend. He's doing better. He's going to be back. We're all rooting for him. Can't wait. And I'm sure he's going to have a story for you when he gets back. In any event, it's kind of appropriate that that I'm going to do the Bitcoin Friday video again, because we kind of got into the discussion about trading a trade in play. A personal trade of mine, which I really try to not discuss with members in general, because, you know, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to teach you how to make your own way in the markets. Let's put it that way. And before we get into this, I just, obviously you see the disclaimer on the beginning of the video, but really trading's not for everybody. And I'm only saying this out because it's out there for the free members as well. Of course, everybody watching this probably has an interest in that, but it's really not for everybody. So maybe you shouldn't be trying to trade moves at this degree, or maybe this type of trading. Maybe you should be looking at a daily time frame or a weekly or whatever. But trading, doing this is not really for everyone. And sometimes buying and holding, being an investor, nothing wrong with that either. So just keep that in mind. So don't feel bad if you missed this. Don't try to get into it now. We're going to do a revisionist thing here. I'm still in the trade that we talked about, looking at exiting potentially as early as this morning, depending on what's going on. So let's get into it. We'll briefly cover what the trade was that we highlighted last week, and then we'll zoom out and talk about briefly talk about the macro options that we had gone over, and then we'll talk about, the finite of how we got where we are and what's going on. So let's hit it and quit it. So last week, on the Thursday call with about 30 members, this is paid members only, social and educational, and then the record goes up for educational only, but great value there for you socials. We had talked about many confluences for this area for long. Of course, it's not the highest quality of entries because it wasn't for a C3 trade. It was for more of a Y trade, right? Because this is a 3 wave here, and you can't really necessarily expect a Y, a multiple zigzag, to happen as frequently as a C in a zigzag, right? Or a 3, of course. So lower quality trade, but sometimes it was worth it because we had counted a corrective number of swings down at this point, right, to this low. And at the time, so we're catching a finished move of some sort. Sure, it could go up, stay internal, and then come back down, but then that would potentially, take your stop out. And then it would have been motive, and we would have known to stay out of it. But that wasn't what we talked about. We talked about a high confluence area here and stop losses for that to get into. Literally, during the live stream, we were right at this level. So we had that opportunity. And then during the live stream, and of course at the start of last week's Bitcoin Friday video that you guys all saw, we talked about when to enter. Well, I had said, again, when we were down here on Thursday call, and then when we started the Friday video, we were here, and I had said how if this wasn't your taste or flavor, of course, if you have the bullish bias and you were looking for the bull trade to start with and not the bear trade, which you could have done as well, of course, was to buy the breakout of this trend line. And once we were here last week and I described that to you, I said even better would be the retest of the trend line. So, even if you didn't get it, even for the public members, the free members, you got 2 opportunities to buy it. So, feel like did the best we could there. Now, let's say we're all in it. The targets were, let's start talking about targets, because you see the count that's on the chart, A, B, C. A sideways style of correction, and we'll zoom out in just a second to talk about again all the objects on the the zoomed out look, but real quick, let's talk about, we have that, targets. So if we recall the targets we were looking at, let's draw one more. We're just simply like a 1-to-1 here. Of course, 887 minimum retracement for a sideways style. We have the pitchfork that was drawn from that pivot. And yeah, so sort of generally we are beyond what would have been my trade target, but I'm still in it. Why, Toot? Again, I'm thinking about getting out potentially. So, watching this thing close, we'll talk about that after we zoom out. But yeah, we're hitting targets and we're staying in it. And generally, almost always, I'm out at the target no matter what. But this is Bitcoin on a larger degree because, so you guys know how Bitcoin is, right? If I sell here on this trade, even though of course I've got the bags loaded, if I sell here on this trade and it goes straight to 80K, I'm gonna be pretty upset, right? So, in a situation like this, you could potentially move stops up. You can, basically where the trade has already taken us, let's say we bought here, that's where I bought. No, let's just say we bought the latest possible entry here. You're currently at this very instant up 20%. You were up over almost 25%. So basically you have, at least in my opinion, it's worth it to me to give some of this back if this goes crazy, right? So that's why I'm still in it. But I'm not, just willing to give it away for free. So maybe we'll exit and maybe we'll decide that at the end of this video. We'll see. All right, so let's zoom out and talk about some of the larger degrees we were talking about. So didn't even show this one before, but we were showing this wave, but the implication is that this was always a 1 in 2019, 2 in 2020, low at March COVID low, and this was always the count. Most people thought this was going to 1K, but I was confident it was not. Anyway, this is a little bit where it's always unclear. We always have a lack of clarity at some degree. And we have a couple clear options, in my opinion, here. We had the orange count here at this degree, where the blue 3 was finishing completely after this, the resolution of this wave for basically this white 5. Then we had what became what we had talked about is probably more likely, in my opinion. We'll just get this off the chart. Is that we're finishing the 3 at this degree, meaning, and really, in my opinion, it doesn't mean that the next larger retracement is really any different. It does mean that we have quite a bit of higher potential upside, though, on the whole move, because whether we finish this 3 or this 3, the next 4 is still expected to go into this area, right? And we'll, you're looking for a 38 to 50% retracement of the wave 3. You're looking for, whether it's this 3 or this 3 again. You're looking for, the area of wave 4 of 1 lesser degree. You're looking for all kinds of things like that. So really, targets don't really change that much on this for this corrective. But of course, then you have more motives after, which of course you would have this corrective out here if it was only this orange count, which I do believe to be the case. Potentially, that's what I'm going to say is my primary at this point. Then 1 degree lower, same problem. Is it the orange count or is it the white count? So the white count had basically finishing here, which would mean you would have expected to start the orange count down. And the reason that we didn't think it was the white count is because of the fact that we finished a low here. And of course, we were thinking that it was going to be a sideways to finish a 4. So, but now this week I'm pretty much ruling out that first white count. And this is what we've been waiting for. This is the trade we talked about last week. We were looking for playing a reactive wave for that B, expecting this to come next. So that was the trade, is to up to here where we've already met target. But I'm starting to think about another possibility of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 there again. So back to this count. But what we would do is move it down a degree. If this goes batshit crazy, this would be we'd be working on an extended 5th, right? So no real projections here, right? This is just to show that we would be working on an extended 5th of the 5th of the 3 at whatever degree, whether it's this 3 or this 3, right? So we could potentially be working on that. I'm sticking to the primary for now, but if we go batshit crazy, this is the expectation. This is how it changes it. And with Bitcoin, you always have to consider, what if it just goes batshit crazy, right? So we'll just delete that off for now. Matter of fact, we can jump off this chart and we'll go back to this chart where this is where some of the, I got rid of some, but this is where we found the confluences for entry of this trade that we are now up 20% on, right? Minimum 20%, right? And then, of course, we talked about where were our roadblocks through here, right? This one was at the 50, touched 65, it just knifed right through. But see, we were at this point last week. This is what gave us our retracement to here, and we knew that we had money in the market. It went through, broke that. So then this came off, this was no longer an area of resistance. The channel would have been the same thing, breakout, retest, just like the trend line, breakout, retest. They're beautiful. Then back to this golden corner pocket that rejected us before. Again, boom, right through it. So those resistances are off the table, obviously. So then we had, now, not really worried about all these little projections and things I've been doing throughout the week. So we'll get that off. One thing to consider, and we're going to look at this in the micro, and then I'm just going to wrap this thing, we're going to zoom out one more time and just look at this whole thing and talk about it. So the reason we had been expecting multiple zigzag is because this is clear 3 waves, right? So then we were expecting for a clear 3 wave off of it of similar magnitude, which the wave is already, you could call this similar magnitude. It's already getting bigger, which is okay. That happens, right? But we don't have any sort of clear 3 wave structure in here. In fact, we have, at best, in my opinion, a resolved motive wave, but that's at best. This meaning, the 5 for this green 5 comes to here, and this is why I'm holding still holding the trade, right? Because this might not even be a 4, right, of this degree. Could this be a corrective? I mean, let's just count the swings, because that's what you're looking for, right? Corrective to finish the B/X. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It can't be a resolved corrective, so we hold, or at least I'm holding, right? So another internal swing up, something like this, could give us that would give us 11 internal swings, 10, 11, right? And that would be a corrective number, because 7 plus 4, 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 plus 4 is 11. So corrective, again, talked about this last week. If you don't understand swings and things like that, you have to join up. And if you're joined up, you're gonna have to watch the educational content. You can't just watch the Bitcoin Friday videos. Can't get into it that deep every week. In any event, we don't have a resolution here. And if it is a resolved motive, again, we have this 3 wave structure. So it's not we don't have the finished B, right? Because we need a finished corrective move to here, right? So we don't have this finished B, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, because 3, and then we need this and another 3. But so at worst case, or what, I don't know how you see it, but we could potentially have this, or something even more bullish, but we could potentially have something like that coming in to where this B is going to be a huge B. Now, even in the case of this happening on this count out here that I talked about with those different possibilities for this, the bigger this gets, and the farther outside of this funky 1 wave, it is funky, so we're going to give it some room. But if this thing goes, if this 4 gets way out here, I might start to think it's more of a, it's more of a 1, 2 with a sideways, meaning that you're going to get this big extended 5th wave. So no matter what, the longer this goes, the more I start to think about this not being a 4 and it being a potential 2. So that still doesn't mean that in that scenario that we could still have a big sideways corrective going in where we put the 2 in here. But of course, there was that option where the 2 could already be in down here if it just goes nuts at this point. So while we do, typically, because the only thing about this, and the count is the most important thing, but the only thing about this that doesn't feel perfect for a finishing sideways is the count. And that is the most important thing. But going back over to this chart, so we look at the slope of the wave relative to its neighboring wave. Just draw it through the middle sort of thing. It is more gradual, right? And then, of course, we look at the slope of this wave relative to this neighboring wave. It is more gradual. These are traits of corrective, right? Traits, the traits that we're looking for. That would be the trait of a CY. This would be the trait of a B wave and a flat. The depth, of course, is met. We're finding resistance at this median line. We are showing divergences on multiple time frames over a long period of time. If we come down here, pop this thing on the 12-hour, where we've made a higher high. So the CME chart, the CME chart, the CME chart, we've made a higher high. The other charts, we have not quite made a higher high, but clear divergence on this time frame as well. So we have divergence within this wave, divergence within these waves. Again, typical sideways style things that we're looking for. I don't feel like it's about to drop off a cliff, but all the markers that you look for are there. That doesn't mean that it doesn't go against what you expect. That happens way more than you would like it to, but it just also happens to, follow these expectations more often than not. So yeah, that's sort of where we are. It's just unresolved, even though we're looking very toppy. So because of that, I'm holding on. Because of this, everything looks great except for this count. I think that maybe we could squeeze out one more, start showing up stronger divergences. At that point, we're looking at, like I say, 11 swings. I'm going to start potentially thinking about going ahead and getting out of the trade. But with Bitcoin, you always got to think about, well, am I going to be mad if this happens? So is catching that, is losing, let's say this, is losing this worth it for the potential to catch this? And almost any other asset, I would be out. But this is Bitcoin. And even on Bitcoin, 9 times out of 10, I'd be out now because, we would have a cleaner resolution, which we don't here. So that's where we're at. Still in the trade, up 20%. Might give some of that back for a potential to get some more, because even if it doesn't go crazy and all we do is potentially finish, we might just get this for the 11th swing, or we might come down and do this to get 20 more percent. But that's where we're at. And of course, I don't have the count here that has it going stupid. I don't, but that just means I'm not able to, if it happens, it just means I wasn't good enough to spot it. Maybe you are. I hope you are. That's my goal here. All right, boys, trade safe. Toot out.